Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to anyone who is new. So, I don't know if there's any chance if you guys are feeling a shift in the soulmate energies, like just really recently, there is something that's been going on here. It's almost as if things changed overnight, but it's not necessarily specifically overnight. It's very recent. It's like when the mood suddenly changes in the room or the way things look. If the sun suddenly starts to go behind a cloud and the room changes, but it not necessarily a bad thing. Anyway, I can feel it, but I don't know what's causing it. So that's what this one's going to be. Um, and I'll tell you, when I started meditating on it, the stories went out in different directions. So I realized there was more than one story that wants to come out. People are on different enough places in the timeline that we need to do a pick a pile. So that's what I decided to do. Of course, these are general readings. They may not resonate with everybody, but it's a pick a pile, so you can choose the one that you want. Lets you watch more than one possibility also. So if you enjoy the videos, please do like and share and subscribe so that we'll be able to stick together. And again, if you get a reading that resonates, we have a collective that is forming here, or that we have formed, and it's a growing collective. So if you get a reading that really resonates, it may be that you also you may belong here. So maybe just check out some of the recent messages to see if there's more for you to discover. But for now, let's go ahead and pick out that pile. So they're all pointers today. You can choose pile one with the rose quartz chips, pile two with the tiger's eye, or pile three with the citrine. So as I say, don't overthink it. Just breathe. Let yourself drift toward one of the piles. Pause if you need to. You can always decide to watch more than one. So if you selected pile one, I'll be right back with that. For pile two or three, you can always get the link timestamps down below. So let's go ahead and pick your pile and let's get started. Okay, and so kicking things off with pile one. So pile one, remember, had the rose quartz, and it's like these little rose quartz chips that are kind of suspended in this epoxy. Looks neat. Makes for a very large pointer also. Okay, so I'm going to be reading for you with the Revelations Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the Forest of Enchantment Tarot here momentarily. And the first thing that I really want to look at as we're jumping into this is the energy that is flowing between the two of you, because it's hard to describe. It's hard to describe how it felt. The reasons that I felt like I needed to pull this reading. Okay, and just taking this top one, we've got the Chariot that's coming out. As the energy of the union between the two of you. So this is really kind of your energy together. It's not moving forward quickly at this time. There's something that, so it feels like it wants to move forward, but there's this feeling of it being held back, or somebody kind of digging in their heels. So we'll clarify here in a little bit to kind of understand what that is, but that's the first feeling that I'm getting. And I feel like what I was saying before that card came out was it's hard to describe why I felt like I needed to call or to pull this reading. But it feels like suddenly the tension has risen a little bit. Something is happening. And so I get that sense here too when I see that there's this feeling that, you want to move forward, but somebody's got their heels dug in about it. That that tension really sort of it sticks out for me. So let's see how your person is feeling about things. So this is how they're feeling about you, how they're feeling about the overall relationship. Actually, you know what? Let's go with how they're feeling about you, and then we're going to look at how they're feeling about the relationship. To kind of just see how that's going. So the Ten of Pentacles coming out for you. That's really fabulous. So the Ten of Pentacles is one of my favorite cards. It's that happy household where you have everything The resources are all covered, taken care of. People have what they need. It's a beautiful, happy, harmonious sort of feeling. And that's the way they feel about you. They feel like they could have that with you and that you represent that to them. So that's a huge compliment because it's not necessarily, what they've had historically in their life. So for you to represent that to them is, it's a really big deal, but there's still something that's really getting in the way here. Let's take a look to see how they're feeling about the relationship itself and the not just the relationship, but the overall interactions too. So this will stretch beyond just how they feel about you, to how this relationship makes them feel. And I've got two cards that feel like they want to come out for me at this time. So we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse and the Fool in reverse. So this is the feeling, the energy of a person who is afraid to move forward for some reason, afraid to jump in and afraid to invest. And in fact, what you might find is that they seem very reluctant to get involved, and yet, when you look at how they feel about you, you can see how, why it is that they most certainly do feel very involved. So there's a bit of a mixed signal happening here where you can feel their involvement, but you also can feel their reluctance to jump in with both feet, and in some cases to even just jump in. Some of them have seen this and decided not to engage. We've definitely got this feeling here of, this is ramped up here recently. That's like the feeling behind the reading, the reason um, that I'm here, I mean, so that's not the question I asked. The question I asked was the current energy of the union, but it does a nice job of touching on the reason that I feel like I'm here. So doing this reading today. And so another important energy that is impacting the situation. I love that question because it's not necessarily going to be something that's crossing you. It could be something that is very positive, but it's impacting the situation and it's an important energy. So it is, something that sticks out. Oh, and we've got that Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups is the free flowing love. Okay, this is the flow of emotion, and it's got this feeling of newness to it because it's an ace. So I can't wait to clarify that one. That one should be very interesting. So the observant among you will notice that I have just had another a pick-up pile, and I don't usually do them one right after the other, but this one just felt like that is exactly what needed to happen. So it's interesting. I felt like I needed to do this, and I felt like I needed to do it in this format. So let's take a look here. And this is going to be, I'm actually going to ask my hidden energies question here. So this is not necessarily what's deep beneath the surface. It's going to be what is it that you need to know that you're not necessarily able to see from where you're standing. Oh, and I think we've got a couple more cards that have come up for that. So just taking the top card there and the only card there, we have the Knight of Pentacles and the Three of Cups. And so this is quite an interesting array of emotion that's going on here because there is this sense of going slowly, but there's also a feeling of like confidence and trudging through something, even though it's not necessarily something that you or they want to remain in. There's like this, and it's almost a new realization, or it's not though. It's like a realization that they've had. They knew they were going to continue trudging through whatever is not so pleasant here. So there's something unpleasant going on in your person's life, and they are feeling kind of a need to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And it's this very slow but steady sort of progress that they're making through something that's difficult. They don't really want you to focus on that too much. Not they don't want you to know it, as much as they don't want this to be something that you focus on, but it may be relevant to what we're seeing here with the heels dug in and the feeling of not being able to advance right now. And this feeling of not being able to jump in, not being able to invest. It's like there is something old that has to be removed first, before you can truly move forward. But there is so much love here, and this sense of this amazing household, this amazing union together. Before we clarify, let's look at the energy that you guys are moving toward, because I really feel like it's, as far as looking at least with regard to this pile, what I'm looking at so far, it's this. This is the big change that I'm feeling. There's this rising tension around this desire to move forward, and it's like an increase in conflict, but it's equal and opposite. So there's an increase in a desire to move forward on your person's part, but also an increase in a realization that they cannot do that at this time, and that they have to keep moving slowly through this situation. So what I'm asking here feels like it's really relevant to this current energy, and it's really, what is that energy that you're moving toward? So there's a lot of conflict within them that's happening in the now, but what is this energy that you're moving toward? Because it's not going to be what's going to happen. I mean, it could show us what's going to happen, but it's more that, what are you going to be putting your free will into? You and your person, are you going to be putting your free will into a situation that has an energy, and what is that energy going to be? Dropped a couple of cards. I like when they drop face down, because then I don't have to think about whether I'm going to incorporate them into the reading. For some reason, it's harder for me when they drop all the way to the ground. If they're face up, it's not as obvious to me if they have to be incorporated. And so sometimes I'm happier when they go face down. So looking at this energy that you're moving toward, okay, it doesn't feel just relevant to this current energy. It also feels relevant to this hidden energy. So we know they are moving slowly but surely through this process that they are not enjoying very much. This is that energy of a new beginning, a new door opening, and it's just got this pure radiant sort of energy about it. So okay, let's go ahead and clarify. I can't wait to get into this and learn a little bit more about what's driving some of these energies. So we're going to start here with the Chariot in reverse. Okay, wow, we have one jump out already, and it's the Weaver of Boons. So that's the Weaver of Boons in this deck. That's a lot like the Queen of Pentacles. So it's earth energy, and it's that motherly, nurturing, earth fulfilling sort of energy. Let's see what else comes out for this. That's an interesting clarifier, because it feels like it belongs over here a little bit in how they see you. So now we have the Child of Challenges. So challenges in this deck, that's air energy, it's swords. And I love that they call it challenges, because it's kind of like what you think with regard to, or what you might think about with regard to debate, or um, intellect, or, just not just taking things as they come, but also thinking them through. And so the Child of Challenges is like the Page of Swords in this deck. And it's the fact that it's upside down is that it's that other side. So there's this beautiful, wonderful Queen of Earth energy that's happening here, that's really drawing this person in. But there is an incredible amount of fear, and it's just an incredible amount of fear, and they are unable to truly confront it at this time. So the Child of Challenges is is willing to jump in to those new challenges, things they don't already know how to solve. Here's a person, though, who's feeling a little too beaten down from something that's happened in the past, and they're feeling like they can't quite just jump in and make a solution out of the future. And so that's like a representation of their fears. But it also gives us a little bit of an insight into their fears, and why they are responding the way they are, because we can feel all the conflict in this, and it's like this recent rising level of conflict within them. And you can see it clear as day in the rest of the cards too. You know, it's I can't move forward. You see, I can't move forward, but I want to. Here's why I want to. This is the love that, you know, I don't know how they are going to get past that, and still and not change, but it looks like there is change happening here, just not coming quickly. So let's take a look then at this 10 of Pentacles and understand what is happening there. So the 10 of Pentacles is in the position about it was how they feel about you. And so my goodness, what a wonderful feeling. And that's the 9 of Boons, which is like the 9 of Pentacles. It's a really fantastic feeling, for a person. There's that sense of emotional independence, that comes off of this card sometime. And here we have the Child of Boons, though. There's something here about not learning or not having learned. So this is the equivalent of that page of earth energy, like the page of Pentacles. So the Child of Boons is a learner. It's a student. The Child of Boons is really very, it's an observant, learning, reaching in. Something here about this is, like it's numb to them, or feels like they can't get in and truly experience it. And that's the thing that sticks out here for me. So we've got this sense that you are this amazing, amazing person who doesn't really need them, but they would love to stand next to your fire. But it's like they stand next to your fire and they can't really feel the heat. That's a it's a little bit of a dramatic way to say it, but that's kind of how it feels. Like they, one of the reasons that things are difficult in this union is because they recognize how much they want this, but they also, they really can't. It feels like, in this case, it feels like there are multiple reasons why they can't. So some of it is there's this situation that they're moving toward, and they're moving through it rather, and they're like plodding through, just slowly but surely plodding through it. You have recently lit them up. This is newish. You have lit them up, and it could be newish 2 years ago when you met. You know, if that's your timeline, but you are what caused them to really start changing, and it changes everything for them. That's, I can't stress that enough. But there's something new here that's causing them to recognize this conflict and have a renewed difficulty moving through it. So let's take a look here. We've got the 7 of Pentacles and the Fool in reverse. So this is them looking at this relationship with you, or the relationship and the interaction. It's not necessarily like how they feel about you. We see how they feel about you over here being incredibly positive, but for whatever reason, like they can't get as close as they want to. But over here, this is how they feel about the relationship, and it may shed a little bit of light on why they don't feel like they can get that close, because it feels like they can't invest and they can't really jump into it. So let's take a look at what's happening there. We have a person that feels like the thing that that sticks out for them is that they can't really invest, and they don't feel like they can jump into it. There is stuff in the way. It's this stuff. It's interesting though, because there's more to it. It feels like it's not just circumstances within their lives that, have been creating barriers and obstacles for them. It's also circumstances within themselves that are creating some of these barriers. So, okay, we've got our 2 cards. Interesting too. So we have a relationship where they feel like they can't jump in, can't do what they want to do. But then we have all of these cups, or this water energy. We have the Child of Visions and the Weaver of Visions. That's that water energy. And so that's like the Page of Cups, which is that, um, just new, flirty, sort of confident, happy, coming at you, but in a really wonderful sort of way, sort of energy, the one that keeps trying, the one that is willing to pass you the love note. That's the kind of energy that this relationship has brought out in them, despite the fact they feel like they can't do it. And there is this feeling of just unadulterated love. I don't know how else to describe it. That's often what comes off of the Queen of Cups, or the equivalent of the Queen of Cups will be love. But this is just, it's like the way that it's flowing out of this cup, where it's coming over the sides, and it's just, it's everywhere. It's in the air around, and it's just very pervasive. This relationship has shown this to them. Not maybe that they were unaware that it existed, but they might not have known for themselves how it really feels. You have either reminded them of the most perfect love they've ever felt, which might have come from a parent early on. And we see definitely that connection to that nurturing energy, but it just feels right. There's such a wonderful thing here. And yet they feel like they can't jump into it. So that is something that is relatively significant as we're looking at this conflict. Between the way they feel about the relationship and the way they want to approach it. And we see it here, like they continue to want to approach it and to approach it, but they can't get close. They can't get as close as they want to. And there's this fear that's kind of cushioning them from it and keeping them away. In addition to, I think when we get down here, we may find that there's something going on in their life that's also making things difficult for it. Um, for now, though, let's take a look at this Ace of Cups. And remember, this was another important energy that was impacting the situation. And the overflowing, we've got one, the overflowing love that we feel here. And we've got the White Heart, which is the equivalent of the Fool in this deck, in the Forest of Enchantment Tarot, but it's in reverse. And so, well, let's look at this, because we've got like more of this difficulty coming through, and more of this that can't quite come out and do what it wants to do. So we have the Seeker of Visions. There's that water energy again, and but it's the hiding behind a rock. I'm so completely transfixed by this that I can't go away, but I'm not showing myself. And this is not the card of not showing myself. That would be like the Seeker of Challenges in the reverse, but I'm getting it off of this card. So this is the White Heart, though. It's the not jumping. It's the fear that it's like as soon as, and it's like a clued. A clued is the word I'm looking at, or that I'm thinking of. We've got this beautiful love here. You've got this beautiful love, and as it starts to come into view, so does this. So does the I'm not going to jump into this right now, and the I just don't feel like I can let go of things enough. There's so much fear that holds them off from being close to you, that even if this wasn't an issue, I feel like the fear still would be. So that's part of what I was feeling up here, because I was like, well, I don't know. There's a conflict, but it's not it's like it's an internal conflict as much as it's anything else. So they may if there's a lifestyle conflict, you've got a person who is in a relationship or in a place in their life where they're still moving through it, maybe have some work to do, because that's really what I feel like here. They've got work to do. They are plodding through this and they're not really enjoying it. Something's difficult. It's like that last few months at the end of a degree program where they're trying to finish up, but they just want nothing more but to quit. Or it's a relationship or a job that is going really poorly and they want to work through this. It's part of what's holding them back. Something here is holding them back. So let's take a closer look. And it's got a hidden energy. Remember, this is something that you would be able to maybe see this a little bit better if you had a different vantage point, because this is hidden from you, but not necessarily completely hidden. So there is a heartbreak associated here with the three of challenges that we see, and also a keeper of challenges but in reverse. So this is not looking at the whole big picture. So this is a person that's in this situation. They're not very happy about it. They're not enjoying moving through that situation very much. Um, but there's this feeling that it's even more ingrained in them that they have to go a certain way. There's this feeling like they have to go a certain way, but that's not necessarily the whole truth. If they were to back up and look at the whole truth, they might do or be able to do an easier job of navigating all this. And I wonder if maybe that's what's going to happen. There's also a significant emotional side to this that's just, it's so sad. It hurts to even pull the card and to feel it. It's a very sad sort of heartbreaking sort of emotion. And you see on the card, this man is running away, wiping his eyes, and you see these people back here. There's a couple holding hands, and it's like he's seen them, and it broke his heart, and he's running away. That's the sort of sadness that you see here. And but it's like it's what's opening their eyes to the big picture to recognize what is truly in front of them, um, that they're aware of, but they're not able to move towards. So there's this amazing desire to move toward. There's this amazing realization of what you are, how you are, the class with which you carry yourself. I mean, there's a lot of positivity that they are quite aware of and able to see, but there's a lot in between them, whether it's this personal piece or the internal piece. But there is this Ace of Pentacles that your guy the energy that you guys are moving toward, very promising. So let's see what's coming out with that. With the Ace of Pentacles, you have a new beginning. All right, so we have the Seeker of Spells. We got our first fire energy, and we got the Four of Challenges. So, all right, there's not enough healing having been done. So it's going to be, I'm getting a, I'm here, but hear me out sort of vibe. There's not enough healing that's quite been done here, but there's also a strong drive to move forward. So you got to be careful with the Seeker of Spells, um, because there's a drive to move forward and there's a lot of intensity around it, but there's not necessarily a lot of stability. And so I see evidence of that over here. Not necessarily that your person wouldn't want to be stable, but that they might be sort of trying the energy out. They've got this, I'm not quite healed yet. I'm here, but hear me out sort of energy. So it's opening a door. It's a slow open, which doesn't surprise me given how they're moving through this difficult situation here. And this Seeker of Spells, though, I mean, that feeling of charging forward and just passionately wanting to move, but also can get out as fast as it gets in. I would just say that this energy can jump in and then jump out again. And it's not necessarily because they're trying to break any hearts, they're just sort of doing things. There's less consciousness during the moment of engagement than you might think, under this energy. So it's an intense energy. There's a lot of contradiction, and I'm thinking about how to move forward to get a little bit more of a deep dive as we go into the extended. So it's like when I set out these first cards, you guys know, that's like the surface layer of the energy. And then we dig in a little bit more when we go to clarify. But then when we go to the extended, we have the opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper. So instead of asking 6 questions, I'm going to ask 3, and we're going to dig in a little bit more deeply on each of those. And I feel like the source of this conflict, or kind of, I don't know how deep we want to get into what's happening in the rest of their life, because I get the sense you may already know kind of what's happening part of the way there, but what is this? Like, there is this feeling that this new love, this abundance they have not really ever felt, and they just want to come toward you. there's so much love here, and yet this fear. This fear is enough to actually override their ability to move forward toward this love and abundance. And that is really, but it's this heightened sense of it, I think, is what drove me to feel like I needed to do this reading today. And I mean, I'm glad I did, but it's just really, the intensity has ramped up for your person significantly here. So I think what we will do as we go in, we're going to take a little bit more of a look and just kind of see here. We're going to dig in a little bit deeper on their interaction with you and what your relationship is. So we looked at how they feel about you. We might see a little bit more about how they feel about you and how they feel about the relationship. But what I'll be asking for is, what is this? What are you to each other? What is the nature of this relationship to one another? Um, and what are you to one another in this relationship? And like I said, we may definitely see more about how they feel about you and about things. We also need to understand, though, this energy that you're moving toward. We've got a door that's a slow opening door, some maybe bridges that haven't been crossed, so we can ask the bridge question too. But the feeling of, I'm not healed yet, but I'm here, just hear me out, that sort of feeling, and this really passionate drive to come forward. But what happens after that? So this is energy that you'd be moving toward, but I'd be curious to understand, like, maybe what's the next step that it might develop into, especially with all this love in the background and the way that they think of you just being so very positive. It's all throughout the reading how wonderful they find you and how much of a drive they have to just come towards you. But let's learn a little bit more about that as we go into the extended. So if this one resonated with you, please do like and share and subscribe, like I was saying earlier. And I hope to see you in the extended. And if not, I will see you in another video in the near future. And now for pile two. So pile two had the pointer with the tiger's eye in there, if you can see that. All right, so I'm going to read for you with the Radiant Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the Light Seers deck. I like putting these two together. And we're going to start with the energy between the two of you. So this is going to be kind of the current energy in the union between the two of you. We've got the Knight of Cups that's come out in the reverse. So this is almost that sense of not making a move, not doing something, but it's also got a sense of tension around it. So this encapsulates a little bit of that feeling of why I felt like I had to do this reading today. Because remember, we're looking at changes that are happening with you right now, and it feels like there's this fresh sense of not being able to move forward. And we'll find out a little bit more when we go to clarify. But it's like they can't move forward toward you. And there may already have been this sense of them like writing a text but not sending it, or feeling like they're going to stop by but not stopping, that sort of thing. That was already there, but there's something renewed about it now, that's got an edge to it. And so that is absolutely in the feeling that I was getting this when I realized I had to do this reading. So let's take a look at how your person is feeling about you in this situation right now. How are they feeling about you? How do they see you? We've got the Four of Cups in reverse. You impress them. So the Four of Cups in the upright is not, that's not as great of a feeling. That's more of a disappointing feeling, more of a, it's possible even that they were expecting some sort of disappointment that didn't come, but you have impressed them somehow. And that is part of what I'm feeling here in the energy. So again, like I said, we'll get in there a little bit more and clarify here in a minute. But there is a feeling, I get the feeling that they want to move towards you, that they would ordinarily have been ready to stop by or send the text, whatever it is that they're supposed to do. But there's something else going on there, which I assume is going to come out here in a little bit because it sure was a drive to feel like I needed to do this reading. So the Four of Cups in reverse is showing how they're feeling about you. So it's very, it's the opposite of disappointment. There's the feeling of them being relatively impressed. And now I want to feel, or I want to see how they're feeling about kind of the big picture situation. So how they're feeling about you together. There is this feeling that they can't invest. All right, I just wanted to see if another card wanted to come out there. Every once in a while, I kind of get that sense, but we've got our card. So there's this feeling that they can't invest, or that when they try, it's not good enough. They're not going to be able to give enough. That's the sense that they have about the relationship itself. May not be the whole way they feel about it, but it's kind of how they're feeling about the interactions between the two of you and just overall how it's kind of playing out for them. Um, so, what I want to see here is we're going to look at another important energy that is impacting the situation, even though I don't like to use the term crossing because crossing has a negative implication. And this, you never know, might not be negative. It might be something that's impacting the situation that it's just something that you need to know about. So, yeah, there's a Nine of Pentacles. So, this is a fairly positive card in this context. So, one of the things that is really great about your situation is how together both of you are capable of being. So, for sure, during this experience, there is something that's throwing your person off their game and making things a little bit challenging for them as they want to move towards you, and they do want to move towards you. There's definitely that sense, but there's something here about I don't feel like I can invest, or I feel like if I try, it won't be good enough. But this is that sense of when it's almost like it's a mood. There's a mood where they get into where they feel like they're not going to be good enough, and then there's the mood that they get into where they feel like they will be. And this may happen for both of you, but this is that sense of being on top of things, being able to, it's organized, independent. It's a great energy. Feeling like you can kind of do whatever it is that you need to get done. You're not really relying on others for that. Um, so that's interesting. That's a good energy to have impacting your situation, regardless of whether it's impacting you, whether it's impacting them. It's just basically it's going to be positive. So let's take a look here at the hidden energies, and what we want to know here is what is it that you can't really see from your vantage point. We've got the Nine of Cups, and so this is that wish fulfillment card. It's really, there may be for some of you some difficulty in understanding what the goal, what the finish line really ought to look like. Especially as it relates to this person, it can be tough enough to figure out what success looks like and what your future could potentially look like without having to having the difficulty of understanding what's happening in this relationship on top of it. And this is that sense of maybe needing to define what success looks like, or maybe even needing to redefine what success looks like. I'll be interested to clarify on this one. But the first, before we get to the clarifiers, I want to look here at the energy that you guys are moving toward. So we've got this kind of difficult energy, but this energy of not being able to stop by, not being able to hit send on the text, suddenly feeling like their hands are tied, but it's emotionally. It also doesn't feel like a stable energy. So it doesn't feel like one that they're going to be in for a long time. I'm curious to understand what they're moving toward. And so this is not necessarily what's going to happen next, but what's that energy to which they're going to be, with which you guys will be interacting and putting in your own free will. Okay, so we've got the Seven of Swords in reverse. That's a great way for the Seven of Swords to be. So in the upright, that's one of those cards where sometimes it's deception, sometimes it is not feeling like you can trust. And in this case, it is a sense of feeling more like you can trust, but it's being able to trust yourself. So before you're even able to reach out and trust someone else, you would have to be able to have that trust relationship really with yourself. And there is a sense of that coming up. So that is actually really bolstering, especially along with this Nine of Pentacles and this sense of maybe it's a matter of figuring out exactly what success looks like and what you really truly are going to want. Because there is definitely this feeling of feeling like things are stopping or coming to a stop, but it's relatively brief. It doesn't seem like this is going to last. This person really is quite impressed by you, but there's something about them, and I feel a lot of fear in this card, feeling like they're not able to invest. But with this energy that they're moving toward, with the Seven of Swords, I feel like that's maybe a little bit different. That may start to turn things for you guys to be able to move in a direction where maybe they feel like when they put in the love, the effort, that things actually do feel like it's worth it. They're going to be able to put in enough. But there is something about understanding your goals and what success will truly look like or what it could truly look like that I think makes a big difference here. So I'll be eager to get in and clarify that here in a moment. But we're going to go ahead and start clarifying with the Knight of Cups. And so when I put this first set of cards down, it's like that very top layer of energy. And so then when we get in here to start doing the clarifications, and I just want to take the top card, when we get in and start doing some of the clarifications, one of the things that we see is we're getting into that next level and understanding a little bit more of what's going on. Then after that, if you want, we can go into the extended. So I will be looking at this as these messages are coming out. There are always going to be kind of those additional questions that want to come out. And this is not necessarily the reading where they get answered, but we can take them into the extended and say, okay, tell me a little bit more about maybe one of these aspects. So for the Knight of Cups, there is this feeling of a missed opportunity. The Sun in reverse here is giving me that sense of a missed opportunity, but there's still this Knight of Wands feeling. And this Knight of Wands is, it's a thinned out sort of passion moving forward sort of feeling. It's difficult for me to try and explain what's happening there because this is definitely passionate forward movement, but there's something about this that I use the term thinned out, and I think really what it is like there's something that's watering down this passion to move forward. And I think that's part of why your person is not being able to hit send or stop by. They know that there's this sense here. It's almost like there's a wall of depression, and it may not be depression for sure, maybe not for your person, but it's almost like there's this wall of depression that they want to move past but are having a hard time getting past. So they feel like it's they recognize the loss of the opportunity, but maybe they're still not able to move past it. So let's look into it a little bit more. We're going to look into this Four of Cups and understand how your person is feeling about you. And really, this is amazing so far. You've got this. They're very impressed. But what else? Tell us more about how this person is feeling. So a decision. There is definitely, you make them feel like they're at a crossroads. That's the Two of Wands. And I felt it before the card was even fully uncovered that they have a decision that they need to make here. But they're in a much better position to make this decision than maybe they were in the past. And it's partly because of their interactions with you that have brought them to this place. So the reason that the Four of Cups is so poignant here is because of the sense of disappointment that you feel when it's in the upright, okay? And so if this Devil card had been in the upright, then so would this Four of Cups. That's the sense that I'm getting. So the Devil card is very much something is controlling you. Something is controlling your person, okay? So as they're interacting with you and as they're thinking things through with you, there is a sense of not having that thing that's controlling and having definitely a decision to make. Your person has a decision to make about you. You make them feel like they're at a crossroads, but they are not disappointed. They did not find here maybe what they expected to find. And just it's a lot more of a pure feeling of being impressed and now wanting to evaluate this decision about how to move forward. But we see over here that there's something getting in the way of that. It really does have that foggy sort of feeling of like a depression. And again, it doesn't really have to be, but they're seeing something more clearly despite that fog. And so, as they're looking to evaluate this decision and how they're going to move forward with you, because this is not necessarily a decision that can be made quickly or lightly. It's one that it's like a decision to start on a journey, is what it feels like. And they're trying to figure out if that's the direction that they're going to go, if that's what they want to do um, as they're moving toward you. So it's kind of a big decision to have to make going forward, but they're feeling much more equipped to make it, because of the way you make them feel, because of the way that they are impressed with you, and because of the fact that this control element is no longer there. So, what that kind of gives me, though, is a sense that it was there recently, and it's something that one or both of you has overcome. There is definitely this sense, and I know I've said this in some of the previous readings, but I've noticed it throughout these readings as I've been on YouTube. There is something about a lot of the folks in this collective that have a runner chaser dynamic going on, but the chaser isn't chasing. And it has to do with this control that is no longer happening. So this is like the fact that the chaser isn't chastening may even be a relatively new concept, or isn't chasing as hard. Like, you know what? Maybe I chased in the past, at least to a certain degree, but now I understand a little bit more what I'm looking at and I don't chase. And that is impressing them. So let's take a look at the Seven of Pentacles. So that was that feeling of not being able to invest, or not being able to invest enough. And we've got the Four of Swords and the Lover's card that wanted to come out with that. And so there is the Lover's card in this context. It's not as heavy on the choice as it sometimes is. So sometimes, a lot of times, when I see this card come out, it has to do with a choice in love. And even though we know there is a choice this person is making, and that it is somewhat a choice in love, that's not the sense that I'm getting off of this card. Instead, what I'm getting is that their sense of this relationship is that it is on a spiritual and mystical level. This is like their idea of a soulmate relationship. And the interesting thing is, you may be dealing with a person who does not typically use words like that, or does not typically think about things in that context, but it's crossed their mind because they can't not see it. It's the nature of the relationship, and it's part of what makes them feel like they can't do what's needed. They can't invest a sufficient amount or do enough to make this relationship be successful. And that, to a certain degree, that's true. But it has to do with their healing and the levels of healing that they've been doing. So, in some cases, they would be able to get into the relationship with you and do that healing at the same time. In other cases, they really are going to have to move farther along that healing path before they'll be able to come back and start thinking about doing the right thing with regard to you, or feeling like they are doing the right thing. It's not so much them making mistakes, it's them feeling like they lack the confidence to get it right. And that's one of the things that comes out when they think about the relationship, think about the interaction between you. They feel a little bit like they're very impressed, but they don't quite measure up. So let's look at this Nine of Pentacles, because that's that feeling of that's very much measuring up. And the good news is that this is like a shared energy between the two of you, but it is not necessarily one that is always easy to access. So I was mentioning that it's like a mood that you guys can get into, that sometimes helps you to be able to feel a little bit more confident about yourselves. And in this case, if this is a person who is battling depression, it may simply be that they're having a hard time getting into this mood where they feel confident. But there is also a feeling of not giving it all, holding on a little bit, and moving. This is a card of moving into calmer emotional waters, having done some of this healing already. So it's a little bit like your person, and maybe you to a certain extent, will have these moods where you feel like you've come a little bit farther along, and so you start to feel pretty confident. Now, this Four of Pentacles, actually, it's going to sound crazy, but feels a little bit like a King of Swords to me. And I'll explain what I mean by that. This is a sense of holding things back. You also notice that her eyes are closed and she's kind of holding on to things. It's a little bit of that miserly sort of feeling and not wanting to let go. But really, what's happening here is she's holding on so tightly because she's not looking at the big picture and she's not looking at the whole situation. That's something that is a defense mechanism that she does because taking in the whole situation can be very overwhelming and could mean that she would have to change some things about herself. So it's a little bit of what's holding back or holding you guys back as you are even in this great mood. When you get into the good mood where you're feeling like you're quite capable of moving forward, the healing is happening, things are getting into that calmer place, there is still this undercurrent of I'm afraid to look at the big picture. And then you notice your person over here is feeling like, well, they definitely don't feel like they have what it takes done as far as the healing. And this soulmate situation is kind of a lot for them to deal with. So it's hard for them to open their eyes and look at the big picture as you're moving through it together. So it just becomes very challenging. And there's a lot of a sense of needing to let go in order to let this feeling really happen, this sense of emotional independence and feeling like you really have it together and you're riding that wave in a little bit calmer of a situation and not such choppy waters. But let's take a look here because I feel like this is very relevant energy here to this Nine of Cups. And what I felt when I pulled this Nine of Cups, remember, was that this is that hidden energy, but what it feels like is hidden is truly the answer to what success looks like and what would truly make you happy. So let's get a little bit of nope, not that one, clarifiers. If I got a bunch of them that come out, I typically will not take them. I dropped some on the floor, but they fell face down. Okay, we have the world in reverse. Okay, and that's about distraction. Not just distraction. I'll clarify. It has to do with feeling like something isn't over and being very distracted by that. Okay, so we've got it's difficult for the two of you to determine what success looks like in this relationship because you're having a hard time opening up to one another, even to get to a place where you could talk about something like that. For them to make the decision if they're going to cross this and begin this journey, they've really got to figure out where they want to go, and that's kind of what this is. So you guys have this sense of things feel unfinished with you, but it's distracting you from figuring out what it is that you truly want things to look like at the end. This situation is making it difficult for you to look at the big picture. It's a sense of not wanting to let go, and to look at that big picture to say, what is it that I truly want? What is it the decision that I would actually make here? And it's having this impact of clamming your person up a little bit, makes them feel like they are losing the battle against fear. When we see the strength card, I'm fond of saying that the strength card does not happen in a vacuum, and it's usually in response to some type of fear. It's almost always a response to fear. When we see it in the reverse, though, we see that the fear is winning out more or less, and so that's part of what's causing it to be so difficult to even determine what success truly looks like. It seems like a simple question to ask. What would make me happy? What is it that I truly want? What do I truly want to see? But when you've got a situation in front of you that has you very triggered emotionally and not necessarily wanting to let go, it can be more difficult to answer that question. And that's one of the things that this reading wants to call out. So we may look a little bit more into that as we get toward the extended reading. But let's take a look first here at this Seven of Swords, because this is pretty promising. That's the energy that you guys are moving toward. And it is the energy of not feeling, of having more self trust, of truly having more self-trust, not questioning quite so much. There's still a feeling of, I haven't learned, I still feel really scared about things. There's a lot of a lack of confidence here, but it's building. So I would just say hang in there. And we'll look at this when we go to the extended to see this is the energy that you're moving toward, which is, if anything, a little bit more tenuous even than the energy that you're moving from. So this energy that you have between the two of you, remember, is this, it's an energy that I described as feeling unstable, like you can't probably stay in this energy. There's a strong desire to move toward you, but there's something that is like functioning as a barrier a little bit between the two of you that is, and it's very, your person is very aware of that barrier, and so it's feeling to them like missed opportunities. The thing that came up to me was like this depressive sort of energy, but it feels like it's not always that way. They feel this significant bond between the two of you, but they aren't quite sure always how to move forward because they don't quite feel like they can measure up. Whereas you impress them quite a bit. There's the sense when they're when they're feeling good, when they're feeling good about themselves, and the thing is, they may be pretty strong in most ways. They may feel pretty confident in most situations, but there's something about you, something about this situation with you that makes them not feel like they can look at the big picture, not want to open their eyes, so and they sort of clench up a little bit, and it distracts them as well as you from understanding, wait, what is it that I would truly want to have? What would truly be the best thing to happen here? Where I see some progress on your side here with the devil card in reverse. And it's, and they see it too. So that's one of the reasons that they feel a little bit more almost inferior in some ways and unwilling to look at the big picture, is because they are so impressed because they see this progress that I am also seeing. This is progress, though, that's going to help you define what success looks like and what you want things to be in the future. And really, here there's a lot of learning that has to happen. This is a tumultuous sort of feeling. If I wanted to sum this up, this feeling here, I would say this is like a tower all in and of itself. We've got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse and the Page of Pentacles in reverse. And it's this feeling of locking up and saying, hold on. It's almost like a panicking sort of feeling, but yet there's this core sense of self-trust. I want to look more deeply into that when we get into the extended reading, and just kind of, what is this energy that you're moving into, because it starts with this this almost tumultuous feeling that's happening here. I wouldn't quite describe this one as tumultuous in your current energy, but definitely moving towards something that feels a little bit more like it is. So I want to understand that. Also want to understand what's going to help you define success. What is it that we'll use that for? I think the bridge question, to understand how you guys can get there. And it's really both of you. We're also going to take a closer look at how your person is feeling about you, because we definitely see a lot of how they see that you interact. But I want to understand more on a feeling level, not to compare themselves against you, and think about healing levels and how impressive you are, and practically speaking, what has to move forward. This all feels a little bit practical to me up here. And so I want to get in there and understand a little bit more on an emotional level what's going on in your person's mind. And then, like I said, we'll figure out what it's going to take to help you define success and just understand a little bit more what's happening in this is as you look at the energy that you guys are heading toward, because that is super interesting. So I would say if this one resonated with you, please do like and share and subscribe. Maybe watch a couple of previous videos, because I'm seeing some of those patterns that have popped up in some of the other videos as well. I'm going to go on to the extended, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and scroll down and click the link. That'll get you into my Vimeo page. So I will either see you over in the extended, or I'll see you in another reading. And now here we are with pile 3. So this is the pile that has the pointer with the citrine chips. I'm going to be reading for you with the Tarot of Dragons, and then I'm going to clarify with the Darkwood Tarot. So the first thing that we're going to look at here is the current energy of what is happening between the two of you. Current energy of your union. Okay, and if I just take this top card here, then we have the Six of Wands in the reverse. So there is a sense of something not winning, something like the bottom has dropped out of something. When I said that I felt compelled to do this reading, I mean that very literally. And it's interesting because it was just something changed. And in some cases, I think it's going to have been a very rapid change. As we've seen in the past, in the previous two piles, there was this sense of growing rapid change that happened here, and this is no exception. So we have the bottom sort of feeling like it has dropped out of something and feeling like something that we thought might work okay before we no longer feel like is going to work. So that's that energy that I'm feeling between the two of you. And of course, we'll see a little bit more about that when we clarify, but that's this does not in any way surprise me after seeing the other two piles and in just the way that things were feeling. So let's look to see how your person is feeling about you. I want to see how your person's feeling about you and how your person's feeling about the relationship, but we're going to start with you. And we've got the Ten of Swords. They are feeling a difficult, painful ending. This is something that it's not necessarily here's everything your person feels about you. It's more what's the knee-jerk reaction? What's the first thing that they're thinking? So there's a painful ending and they are thinking about you. Now, if this is a painful ending that happened between the two of you, they are reliving it and they are having a hard time getting past it, owning up to it, and really just kind of working through it. There's probably even, and when I say probably, I mean definitely, there's some effort to not think about it and to compartmentalize it. But that's what they're thinking of. Now, if you haven't had a difficult ending, they are thinking about and obsessing about an ending that has happened in the past that reminds them, they are reminded of it because of this relationship. So this is interesting. We may even be catching some people in the timeline, different places in the timeline. So we'll have to watch and see what's going to happen because we've got this current energy of the bottom having dropped out of something, and then this really difficult pain that's happening here. For a couple of you, this is going to be something has not gone wrong yet. This is the pain that they're bringing into the relationship because of something that's happened with them. And with any luck, you won't have that go wrong. But it's definitely that sudden change is what I felt. So let's check to see then how they are feeling about the relationship itself. We saw how they're feeling when they think about you. They think about this difficult ending, but it's because they're really afraid to let it go. They have either really jumped out there with, we've got the Fool and the Hierophant. They have either really jumped out there with something new and said, this is a risk that I've taken. And I get the sense they did. Emotionally, they did. Even if those words didn't come out of their mouth, they jumped into something in this relationship that they would not ordinarily feel comfortable to jump into. And it is because it is the end all be all. Like this is, they feel very drawn to it, very comfortable here, very much like they are spiritually making the right choice. So I say spiritually making the right choice because I kind of feel like there may be more to it, implying to them that they are not necessarily making all the right choices, but spiritually speaking, they know this is the direction they want to go, and you have made them feel in a way that they have not historically felt from other people. But there is this great fear of an ending coming your way or something that has already happened between you that they just can't stop reliving. And there again, it feels like the bottom has dropped out. This could be a very recent ending for the two of you. Or, I use the example in another reading here on another one of the piles of it could be 2 years ago. It could also be, some time ago. But this is ringing in their ears. They can't stop thinking about the pain of this ending, and it is a challenge for them. So let's look down here in what I'm asking for here is another important energy that is impacting the situation. And I don't necessarily want to talk about or ask about what's crossing it because I feel like that implies negativity. I just want to understand what's impacting the situation here. Could be something that you consider to be very positive, could be something that you consider to be negative, probably isn't overall neutral. Okay, so let's see here. We have two cards that wanted to come out here as well. We've got the Strength card in reverse and the Two of Pentacles in the upright. And so this one is about somebody is taking the path of least resistance in order to keep the peace and keep things quiet. That's really what I get out of this. And so it could be you, it could be your person, but that energy is there. So when you guys, when you go out and you watch a YouTube reading and they say at the beginning, hey, the energy could be flip flopped. One of the reasons that they mentioned that the energy could be flip flopped is because a lot of times when you're reaching out and you're just kind of dipping down into the energy of a relationship, you will get things. Like what I'm getting here is very, very clear, but it is in no way evident to me. It's in the energy. It is in no way evident to me who is who is doing more of this. It could even be both of you doing it and more heavily in one person's direction than the other. And sometimes it's clear to me who it is, and sometimes it is not. So in this case, it's less evident, but we definitely have fears winning out in order to keep the peace and keep things balanced. Okay, so can't wait to clarify that one. Let's take a look here at the hidden energies. So what I want to understand here is not just that which is beneath the surface, but that which you cannot see. So what are you having trouble seeing from where you're standing? Maybe that under different circumstances you might be able to see it if you stepped a little bit to the other side. Well, you've got the Lover's card, and this one is so this Lover's card is both about the nature of the relationship and the fact that you've got a choice to make here with regard to this. This relationship is bringing together some very important things. So here you see with these two dragons, it's bringing together the land and the water. And so there's something about bringing together the stability and the emotion. There is something about the fact that the two of you, when you come together, are actually completing a plan. But what the nature of that plan is not super evident. So it is not evident that you need to be together in a romantic way in order to fulfill this plan. However, there are some choices that you have to make about this when the two of you, when your energy bounces off one another. Cannot wait to clarify this one. And this is usually the part of the reading where I start to think, let's get into those clarifiers. But before we do, let's finish putting down the surface energy because that's really what these cards are. These are giving us that surface, that first layer of energy that's on the surface. Then when we clarify, we're going to get in a little bit deeper and understand it more. From what we learn here, we'll get in and figure out, well, what questions arise or what did we not get enough of a feel for when we looked at this that maybe still needs to come out. And so that's what we'll do in the extended. So we'll get into that much deeper energy, asking fewer questions and going deeper into the ones that we do ask. So first, though, and still in that surface layer of energy, we're going to ask, what is the energy that you're moving towards? So we know that you've got this energy where the bottom has just dropped out, but that's like a momentary energy. That's what has brought us to the place where we are today. But where are we heading? So this is going to be the energy to which your persons and your free will be added. So it's kind of that, oh, we've got a couple of cards. This is a total of 3 cards. That's a little bit unprecedented on this channel, I think, for 3 cards to come out, and they all want to come out. I'm almost certain. Yes. Saw some more over here. So I typically pull out that top card. And here we've had a couple where 2 wanted to come out. And here we have a situation where a 3rd one wants to come out. So this is the energy where you're headed. Let's just read it like it is all one big feeling, because that is the sense I'm given. So we have the Hanged Dragon, which is going to be the equivalent of the Hanged Man. We have the Sun, and then we have the Page of Swords, but it's in reverse. So the energy that you're moving toward is an incredibly happy one, full of opportunities, full of possibilities, full of potential. And the two of you would be walking into it with, to some degree, a new feeling or a new perspective on things. May not be, like it may be a small change in one of your perspectives, and I get the sense like it might be a small change in your perspective, but a big change in theirs. We still have a catch though. There's still a little bit of a hitch here with the Page of Swords in reverse. That is, it's about communication that's not really happening. I feel like it's connected to this fear here that things are just going to end permanently. And that's that's one of the reasons that you have them playing it safe over here. You may also be playing it safe, but there may be more to that. So we'll take a look at that here. It's time to go ahead and jump in and clarify. So we have the I'm sorry, the Darkwood Tarot. I had to look over at the box and make sure I was getting it right because I might have called it the Deepwood Tarot earlier. It's the Darkwood Tarot. We're going to start here with the Six of Wands in reverse and just clarify to understand. Tell me about this feeling where suddenly something that you thought was going to work won't work and you feel like the bottom dropped out. So you've got the Eight of Wands. Something suddenly stopped moving. I won't say it ground to a halt, but like took its foot off the gas. The impetus suddenly stopped with forward movement. So looking at this here, we've got the Six of Wands, which is that feeling of the gut punch. It's that feeling that something has kind of fallen out. And this is all fire energy, but it's all in the reverse. So we've got the King of Wands, which is can get pretty dark in the reverse, actually. So this is that feeling of, well, this isn't going the way that I want it to go, and so it's wanting to control the situation. But the defense mechanism here isn't just about controlling the situation, like in the physical realm, jumping in and doing things about it. It's also controlling the situation in your own minds, and so be sure that it's not suddenly lapsing into all this overthinking. Your person is definitely having some of that. I feel like as things, as the bottom dropped out for them and they felt this gut punch, whatever it was, this is a motion that stops, like the foot comes off the gas. It isn't necessarily even that the vehicle stops moving. It's just now the foot is off the gas. There's no more impetus to move forward. And it can create a little bit of a lurching sort of feeling, which is definitely what I got here. But this King of Wands is reactive. So that's like your person, for example, has jumped into feeling this way about the ending, partially because of the bottom dropping out sort of energy. So even if you guys walked away from each other, some time ago, they're feeling it all over again. And that's a significant change that's happening in the energy. There is something that really just, something has happened, something has turned over. Let's take a look then at this Ten of Swords and get a feel for what's happening here. So this is in the how your person is feeling about you. And what it really impressed upon me was this is how they feel when they think about you. So it's not necessarily, oh, they feel painful ending about you. It's just that's what they think of when you come into their mind. So again, with this sense of jumping into something new, we've got the Fool card over here. We've got it again over here. You make them want to jump into something and want to set things into motion. So this is the Three of Wands, and it's that feeling of having set something into motion and you're starting to move it forward. So you've made a decision, you've had the idea, you've made the decision, you kind of pushed it off, you set it into motion. And that's that feeling of the Three of Wands where you're waiting for it to kind of come to fruition based on what you have pushed off and gotten started. Then there's this strong feeling of them wanting to come towards you and just jump, take a leap of faith. Like it's a palpable feeling. But there's so much fear and pain here about this ending. And this is like, it's very much them wanting to come toward you and wanting to save themselves, save themselves from this energy as well. So I guess that's a conflicting feeling, but it helps to understand a little bit of this hiccup here. There's not enough communication around this overall, and things have changed a lot here in an instant. And so it's right where we need more communication is where I feel like we're not having it. So let's take a look here. This is in how do they feel about the relationship itself? And remember, this was you make them feel like they want to jump into something new, which we see that over here. And this relationship was an example of a time where they really did. This is not somebody who necessarily just jumps into new things like that, but they sure did. And they really feel like it's the right place to be. They get the sense that this is if you're going to jump into something, this was the one. So, but I don't necessarily get the sense that they feel happy about where things are with that right now. But they also can't deny that soulmate sort of feeling. This may be hidden from you a little bit, but I don't know how much it's hidden from them. So let's take a look here and get the clarifiers for this. And these ones where more than one came out, I'm clarifying them as a single feeling. So we've got the Hanged Man that has come out here along with the Knight of Cups. We've seen a bit of that Knight of Cups today. And it's kind of always had this similar feeling about it where, the Knight is a card of action. Cups are emotional. And so it's about being able to jump out there and do something different. So whereas the Knight of Cups does not typically give me that Fool energy, I've been feeling a little bit from these decks today, just with regard to what these changes are with your person. And so keep in mind, these three stacks that we do may not be three completely different situations. Sometimes I will find I've got to listen to a couple of them to get the full message. And so it doesn't necessarily surprise me how much I've seen the Knight of Cups come out here where maybe that's not as common. I mean, the odds are 1 in 78 usually that you're going to pull a card, right? And so seeing it this often tells me that there's something special there. But we've also got this Hanged Man that has come out here, a new perspective that you have created in this person. So they moved toward you almost without thinking about it and almost without realizing that's even what they were doing. But by the same token, it happened because it was exactly the right time for their soul to click with yours when the two of you ran across one another. They had just the right sort of perspective at that time. But now it has really just kind of turned into a steadfast realization, I guess, that they found the right person. They found the right place. That is very strong in how they feel about this relationship. And it's caused them once again to do things and to feel things that they don't ordinarily have come across. So we're going to take a look now at the Strength card in reverse and the Two of Pentacles. And so this was that other important energy that was impacting your situation. And so basically, this was the feeling of someone keeping the peace. And again, it's kind of letting the fear win out for the purpose of or keeping the peace. We'll take a look here because remember when I looked at that and when I pulled it, it was not immediately evident to me if it was about, I know it's about both of you, but whether it's more about one of you than the other. And I can't, I gotta tell you that because sometimes I feel it and I'm like, oh, that's definitely your person. Sometimes I feel like it's definitely you. And in this case, it's shared, but I can't tell. It may be exactly shared. So let's take a look here at what's coming out. We've got this situation where this is a denial of that relationship or that. So your person does know. Okay, this is helping me. This is you and your person, but it's more your person. They are aware of this extreme relationship that you are able to see the edges of. So it's in your hidden energy, but I wouldn't say you're completely unaware of it. It's really just the gravity of it, the extremity or the extremeness of the situation, and it is not lost on them. They understand how extreme the situation is, but they are trying to keep the peace or keep the balance in their existing life, and so they are minimizing it to a certain degree. They also they have something that they're afraid to let go of. This is a very I'm not going to say fearful person in general, because over here I see a lot of evidence that they can definitely work past those fears. But I do see that they hold a lot of fears. And so This is a situation, though, where it's difficult to blame them exactly because I get the sense that they have good reasons for not wanting to disturb the peace or disturb the to make waves in this situation. However, they are doing a pretty effective job of hiding from themselves how important this relationship is. And it makes me wonder what has happened here recently. We see with this card, there is this tendency to want to control not just the way the situation looks, but the way it feels and the way it feels to them. They are rewriting the situation in their mind to a certain degree, and they are removing the importance of this lesson that they have with you, the experience that they have with you. And so this is the piece that we're going to look into next, but we can definitely see here they are minimizing it within themselves and hoping that it just kind of passes by. They're trying to keep the peace and keep things stable and steady. They're trying to hold on to something that is important to them. But I get the sense that, like, there are going to be some of you who have a person who is married with a family, and it's like the marriage itself may not be great and they wouldn't necessarily be interested in sticking around for that. But the family is something that they feel like they need to keep the peace. That's almost, and of course, that's awfully specific. It's not going to be everybody, but that's the sense that I'm getting here, that kind of feeling. So let's get a feel here for what's happening with this lovers. And this was in that hidden energy. So this is pretty much about you. This is that hidden energy from you, but that you might be able to see it if you moved in a slightly different direction. So you've got the Three of Cups in reverse that's come out. So there are barriers, perceived barriers to this situation that, but that are perceived on your part, but not necessarily real barriers, I guess. And so that's something that you'll need to keep in mind as you learn more about this, because as I was saying, this relationship here between the two of you, not completely a secret to you. It is not completely hidden from you. You're aware on some level of the importance of this relationship. Your person is very aware of it and is denying it to themselves, because they need to be able to keep that peace. But here you're just starting to kind of see the edges of it. And it's gonna send you on like walkabout. It's gonna send you off after your dreams. And so there's something interesting about this feeling because it reminds me a little bit of what came out in one of the other piles. And it was this feeling of needing to be able to determine what success looks like and what happiness would look like. Because I feel like with this Eight of Cups, this enables you to go out and have that search and to truly go out and start to see, well, what is it that would make me happy? Um, but there's the thing that's really hiding from you here is the significance of this situation that you have with this person. It looks like one thing, but it really is kind of maybe another thing. And so keep that in mind. The nature of the relationship between the two of you is it's a very close soulmate situation, but the way that it plays out may differ significantly from the way that you would immediately, what you would initially think. Like when you first come together with a person, and one of the examples that I immediately pops into my mind is a person that I recently spoke with who is, they have a relationship they describe as a twin flame relationship. That's the nature of the soulmate relationship that these two believe they share. And it certainly has all the hallmarks of what we would typically call that. But I'm not really into throwing those types of names around. However, I totally get why they say this. And so if you're listening, I'm not trashing you. I'm totally just, I get where you're coming from. Anyway, this person, they initially, when they got together, thought that the relationship would be like a traditional, romantic relationship. And so they got together and things weren't working out. It turns out, so one of them was married and kind of thought, well, maybe my relationship's going to end. Maybe this relationship with my person is going to, or with my spouse is going to end, and I'm going to get together with this other person. So ultimately, what they learned as they went through their healing journey was no, no, I don't leave my spouse. I'm not even going to be romantically intertwined with this twin flame. However, we are never going to leave one another's side. So there's a very close friendship, very close relationship between the two, and they believe it's even closer than would be possible if if the relationship had the added pressure of being romantic. So that's just an example that kind of is encapsulated here. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying this may look a little different from the way that you might think that it would look. Um, and now I want to get in and clarify this feeling of kind of where you're headed, and that's the energy to which you and your person will be adding your free will. So there's going to be this sense of possibility and potential that is just beautiful and unlimited. Both of you coming in with some new perspectives. We already see some evidence of that over here. But the communication, I don't see the communication being great. And what we already discovered was that it's not great, and we need to get more communication together. So we've got the Five of Cups that has come out in reverse. So that's pretty positive. The Five of Cups, when it comes out in reverse, is about and I'm not going to hold all of these cards up for you, but I'm just going to hold up the ones that I'm talking about. So the Five of Cups, when it comes in the upright, is you'll often see someone, and in this case, it's this little rabbit, looking, focusing on all of these cups that have fallen over, the emotion, the liquid is coming out. And behind them, the two cups that are still standing. There's all the possibilities are there. All of the good things could still happen. When you see this in reverse, it's like the person, or in this case, the rabbit, has turned around and can see the full picture. So they're aware of the regrets and the pieces that have fallen and the things that are coming out, but they're also aware of the potential that's in the background. So I see that as being very connected with the potential that we see in this sun card. So it's not just having the potential, it's also the ability to recognize it. But there's something here that is not being dealt with. So this is the Tower card. And you see here that the top is being blown off this tower. There's a lightning strike, new illumination coming, and it is not the comfortable kind. But here we have the tower in reverse. And so basically, it is something not coming, some new illumination that is being held off. And it has everything to do with this communication that isn't freely going back and forth between the two of you. So the sooner that the communication can be improved, the better. However, it's not as simple as all that, because there's a lot of fear and a lot of emotions that are going to play into this. Not the least of which being, the concerns that your person is having around this pain of this ending, this sudden ka-chunk. It's like this feeling that something has fallen into a different place, and now your person is off to the races, overthinking about what that could possibly mean. There's a huge protection piece here where they're protecting themselves against what could be happening in the rest of their lives and with you. Then there's this feeling here that things may not be exactly as they seem. Like this is like a big fat moon card right here. But it's not necessarily like it's got just as positive or neutral of a feeling as the moon card often does. This, though, as you're moving into the distance, this is a positive place to be. We're going to take a look here to see kind of a little bit more like what's going to happen. We have that big ka-chunk, something falling into place and something changing here where suddenly something doesn't feel, something has shifted. Something doesn't feel quite like it's going to be a winner anymore. The energy has stopped. The foot has been taken off the gas. There's been a lurch, and now there are attempts to control the emotions, just even within, yourselves, right? Mostly themselves. And then we have this energy that you're moving toward, which is really promising with the new perspectives and all the potential and everything. But without the communication, it can't go too far. So let's look into what's likely to happen there, and what's likely to happen next, kind of with that. I also wanted to get in a little bit deeper on how your person feels about you, because we saw a lot of how they feel about you. We saw down here a lot of what the relationship, the nature of the relationship is, and even what they feel like the nature of the relationship is, and even how they're responding to part of it. But let's get a feel a little bit more for how they truly feel about you. Not so much the relationship, but you. We'll look into that because I feel like that's a nice place for us to dig in the extended and get in a little bit deeper. And again, it's what came out here versus what didn't. We see a lot of really important things that came out. We see a lot that came out about the relationship itself. We even see that kind of spilling out into how they feel about you. And so I don't feel like we got enough here about you. And I wanted to go ahead and jump in and see a little bit more of that. Plus, then we'll see, like I said, what is likely to happen next? You're moving from this energy here into this little bit more harmonious energy here, but still a little bit choppy. So, what does that look like and what does it flow into? And then we'll look at like what it takes to get you there. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you for being here with me for this. If this one resonated, please do like and share and subscribe just so that we can stay together. Maybe even watch a couple of those older videos if you feel like it really resonated, just because there may be additional messages in there, or if you need to watch another pile. I am going to head on over to the extended. The link is down below. I look forward to seeing you there, or I will see you in another reading.